The League of Young Voters works to activate an engaged, informed young voter base. And they accomplish this by mobilizing young people to talk with their peers on a face-to-face level about important issues. The League works for equality and justice throughout New Mexico.
Did you always feel like you were part of it?
I guess the headline here is Healthy Children, Good Schools. And under a joint agreement between the development community, APS, and the city of Albuquerque, a developer is currently obligated to pay less than $2,000 per housing unit to offset the cost to taxpayers of providing all educational facilities in new areas. We understand the actual cost of creating quality schools in new growth areas would require a fee to developers of more than $10,000 per unit. Additionally, the current agreement charges the same per unit even for infill and affordable housing developments in the existing community. So here's the question. If elected, will you work to ensure an agreement with developers and APS to charge fees reflecting the actual marginal cost of what it takes to build schools in new growth areas versus established areas? Yes or no? And please elaborate. Blair?
Thank you, Harlan. First of all, I am a school principal at Chaparral Elementary on the west side of Albuquerque, and I have watched over the years that I've been there how the growth has taken place on the west side and all of the periphery of Albuquerque. As a resident, though, of District 6, I'm always concerned that I'm paying my fair share, not paying more than I need to support the growth of infrastructure in other parts of the city. So it's my concern that we strengthen the impact fees and strengthen the planned growth strategy so that we can, in fact, have equity between people in the core areas of Albuquerque and those on the periphery as Albuquerque does grow. Working with developers is one thing. I think we need to do a lot more in terms of setting fees that do reflect the requirements and the needs. So thank you.
I am in favor of impact fees. I believe they are necessary for growth and for the rest of the city to accommodate that growth. Would I be in favor of charging $10,000 for every house? That may be a little high because I think the numbers may be demanding full buildings, and I see nothing wrong with portables myself. I went to school in portables back in 1976. All my girls have gone to school in portables so far. So that number may be a little high, so I don't know that I would commit to saying 10,000 per house. But if the real number of what's needed, what's projected for the growth of that community, and if it takes into account that those young kids, once they go through the system, would the school be too big that was built and then we'd have to be shutting down schools? I really want to know that we were looking for a long-term outlook of what we were actually building and then base that charge on that long-term growth plan.
Well, as a child advocate, I believe very strongly in getting our children out of the portable schools, those portable classrooms. I have an issue right now with APS spending the type of money they do to remodel their boardroom, and that kind of money, $15 million to buy a building and another $1 million to remodel a boardroom when our children are in portable classrooms, upsets me. It upsets me as a parent, and it upsets me as a taxpayer. So in terms of the developers and whether or not we should increase their impact fees, I would have to say that we're encouraging development and growth in Albuquerque. We've gotten on the map as Forbes #1 city, and that means they're looking at the incentives that they have to come in here and build buildings, whether it's housing developments in a planned development way, not sprawl, and high-rise or office complexes and commercial properties like that. For me, I look at that issue and I say, we're already taxing them, we're putting impact fees on them, and we're asking them to do more. That would need to be evaluated, and I'd like the voters in District 4 to give me their input before I would move forward on something like that.
I hate to be sort of critical of my fellow counselors, because I know that Councilor Cadigan and Councilor Winter were involved in negotiating this agreement. It unfortunately hurts the older areas, and I have to agree that we've paid our taxes in the older areas, and we want to encourage infill and redevelopment, and this hurts, especially it hurts the production of affordable housing, and most affordable housing is subsidized and produced by nonprofits, and the reality is it does hurt the production. I think that what we need to do is have concurrency, and right now the state the legislation does not allow us to have concurrency, and that is that would require impact fees for schools. Right now it is illegal technically it's illegal to charge impact fees for schools. This is sort of a side deal with the APS and developers, and I think a lot of people think it's better than nothing, but it just does not meet the needs of developing schools, especially in the areas, and the developers do have to contribute more.
Well, I agree that we have to have concurrency. I don't think that we can just continually chase developers and then hope that somehow we're going to find the money somewhere. Usually where we find that money is from established areas like District 6. And I disagree a little bit with the amount of money. I think at this current time, developers are subsidized by $14,000 per household. And nothing is done to build schools or other amenities that should go with development. Developers need to know that they have to pay their fair share, and not with hidden subsidies either. So I would encourage developers, if they're interested in this city, to go into areas, established areas, and start infill and redevelopment. We have a lot of blighted areas that need work, need attention, and we can do that by making sure that developers pay attention to that and not chase them, as I say, to the fringes of the city.